Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy.
And I'm Diva.
And this is Twisted Listers, a podcast about murder
and lists.
And every time I start talking for the podcast, like you and I can be chatting like forever. And the second it's time to actually officially like record, my nose stuffs up. And it's some weird psychosomatic fucking thing. I just don't understand.
Stage fright. No, your nose has stage fright.
It does. It's
Podcast
fucked up. Podcast stage fright. Yes. Anyway, hi everybody. This is episode 1, week 1 of a topic that I chose. You would have thought Diva chose it.
Yeah, it's a very Diva topic, but a Cindy choice, technically.
And it is dismemberments. People who were dismembered.
We did beheadings not so long ago, so this is like the sequel.
This is taking it one step further.
Yeah.
They had to remove more than just the head. And and the thing here is this kind of came in as a small town murder request from a listener, but we had already chosen our small town murders when they sent this in. So I was like, listen, we're going to figure out a way to do this. And I was like, oh, Diva will love this. Dismemberments. The answer is often dismemberments. And it is here as well. So anyway, this is episode 1. It's the first half. If you guys would like to join us on Patreon, you can do that at patreon.com/twistedlisters. If you'd like to join us on TikTok, it's at Twisted Listers. If you'd like to join us on Instagram, you can do that at
Twisted Listers PCast.
If you'd like to send us an email with case suggestions like this lovely listener did, you can do that at
twistedlisterspod@gmail.com.
twistedlisterspod@gmail.com. And
sorry, I went too fast.
No. I was just repeating it from my own brain. And if you'd like to check out our website and potentially buy some stickers, you can do that at
twistedlisterspod.com.
And all right, we've done all of our stuff.
One more thing about our Patreon. If you are thinking about joining or are new, I just reposted the murder map, which is now at 301 plus locations, and I add almost every place we talk about.
Amazing.
Every site. And I kind of redid the tags too. So if, like you say, you joined, you could click on Patreon only tag and see actually all of our content. So that's a nice back catalog there. So it's nicely organized.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Thanks for doing that. I am the worst about doing Patreon episodes. It's like mostly Diva, or we get slowed down because I'm a dickhead who takes.
But I got one. I have one ready in the pipes loaded up. I got one.
Yes, Diva is saving my ass. I thank you for that, Diva. But it's because I'm doing such a good fucking job on these ones. Okay, so lay off.
Yeah, I'm putting in extra work. Yeah,
just kidding. I'm not that defensive. Jesus Christ. Anyway, should we jump in on these amazingly fucked up cases? All right, let's.
And are you doing your small town listener request one today?
I am. Yeah, I started with that one.
That's perfect because mine that I picked is very country, small town, and feels small townish as well.
Listeners, can you tell us, because I really like when the previous lists kind of meld into the next week. Yeah, like
I like that too.
I think that's really cool. Does that annoy anyone? Because I feel like for some reason that could really annoy someone. Hopefully it doesn't.
Someone, maybe. But I liked like when we did Australia and then we did spree killers and all the spree killers are Australian.
I know. I just want to make sure people feel like it's different enough. I personally like seeing the connections.
It's a transition.
It's very interesting. Yeah. But I just wonder, you know how people get mad about shit for no reason? This feels like one of those things.
People can get mad about whatever they want to.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to know so we can make fun of you. So write in.
Okay. So
all right.
My first tale here is that of Gary Carl Simmons. And this guy named Timothy Milano, but Gary for some reason is more of a main character.
Okay.
And this is a really gross, horrific story, and with a very amusing ending. Which is a weird way to describe this, but
also, didn't expect you to say that. A very amusing ending.
Yeah, it's totally separate from the story, but it's really out there. Thing at the end. So all right. Without further ado, this happened in 1996 in Jackson County, Missouri. You know, it's small town when there's not even really a town. It's like the county. It's just like the. I got Moss Point, so I think it's in the county area around Moss Point, but it's like in the swamps of Missouri. Like nothing is around is where we're gonna go.
Okay. That's funny because mine's the same.
Okay.
Like, perfect. It's like I'm talking about a township.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And I feel like there's something that goes like together, something about dismemberment and swamps that go together.
Ooh, yeah.
Right.
I see that. Mm-hmm. Or water, just generally water, I think is also a thing. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so on August 11th, 1996, we have Jeffrey Wolf, who's 21, and his girlfriend, Charlene Brooke Leeser. They actually live in Houston, but they are owed a sum of what is reported to be between $12,000 and $20,000, as well as some indeterminate amount of drugs, specifically weed, from their friends, quote unquote, / business associates, Gary Carl Simmons Jr., of course he's a junior, who at this time is 33, and his former brother-in-law turned drug associate, 21-year-old Timothy Milano, and they live in Backwoods, Missouri.
Okay.
So this debt is believed to be, like I said, from some kind of drug deal of some kind, but it's not how, I'm not sure how they were in business like from that far away from another. Maybe there's some like big drug network, right?
I mean, there's definitely big drug networks. Yeah, I just don't know if that's what's at play here. But yeah, that sounds right. Okay.
Something like that. And Jeffrey's like, I would like my $20,000. I'm going to, let's go on a road trip to retrieve it, right?
Okay.
What could go wrong?
What who could end up dismembered? Nobody. Nobody.
Yeah, this sounds like a calm trip. We'll just collect the money and Gary will be like, oh, I'm so sorry, you know?
Yeah, excuse me, sir. I apologize for withholding your drug cash.
Let me Venmo you. Yeah, no. No. So I'm just gonna add right here, right up top, that Gary Simmons is employed as a butcher.
Oh shit. Okay.
That's what he does. In the meat section of a grocery store, but he chops up meat all day.
Okay.
He is divorced with 2 daughters. And I'm going to tell you a lot of colorful facts about Gary later on, but I'll give you this basic info.
Okay. I do love colorful facts. So,
Jeffrey and Charlene do their road trip. And when they get there to Gary's house in middle of nowhere, Missouri, Gary and Timothy say, nope, we are not actually going to give you that money. Nope, no, thank you. Not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so naturally
they prefer to keep it.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. So naturally, they all begin to get into a conflict over this. And at some point in this argument, very intense argument, Timothy Milano shoots and kills Jeffrey very promptly.
Wow, just like you're done.
Yep.
You're done.
Yep. All right. Gary Simmons, however, makes a choice to tie up Charlene, Jeffrey's girlfriend, and put her in a footlocker.
Oh no.
Small little box, just like smashes her in there.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, so he imprisons her for some time, kind of like going about his day day or two here. But he does at some point remove her from the box to sexually assault her.
Oh, good. So we're just following a real good trajectory here.
Yes.
Ugh.
Later in court, we will hear the extremely disgusting statement that I believe this is from Charlene, that Gary told her that, quote, her life depended on how well she performed sexually.
Oh my God.
Just to make you dislike this guy a little bit more than we already do.
I didn't know that was possible, but here we are.
It's really gross. Yeah.
Really trash bag.
Really, really gross. So he rapes her, he puts her back in the box. She's in the fucking box. It's terrifying.
It's like the girl in the box, but like with another person.
Different box, yeah. So there was another, also kind of a robbery element to this, because not only were they not going to pay the money, they actually expected Jeffrey to have a bunch of cash on him, and they were going to steal it, despite the fact that they owed him money. But okay, whatever.
Right. I mean, nothing is surprising me at this point.
No.
Like the audacity.
A lot of audacity. So they are disappointed that Jeffrey only had about $1,000 on him, but they did steal it. So there was like a minor robbery, minor-ish. So Charlene is still in the footlocker at this point, but Gary and Tim here place Jeffrey's body in the bathtub, and they begin to what is described as gut the body.
Oh, come on. Absolutely not.
And then dismember it into various chunks, because here we are, it's the theme of the day.
Yep.
And naturally, because there is a bayou full of alligators behind this property, they borrow a neighbor's boat, which I feel bad for the neighbor.
Yeah.
And take all the parts of Jeffrey and just throw them like confetti into the bayou.
Like confetti, she said. Like confetti.
just like flamboyantly scattering, right?
Okay. All right. I'm glad you have that detail.
Yeah, I added the confetti. That wasn't like in the newspaper.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, and they were assuming that alligators would eat these trunks. Yeah, he used his butcher knives from work, by the way. So at some point in all this, he stops, goes to work, gets the knives and sharpens them, then comes back.
Okay.
Also, there was a misspelling in one of these articles I read about this case that I really enjoyed. I just have to share it with you. Okay. And it said he dismembered Jeffrey with his butter knives. And I was like, that is really funny, kind of funny to imagine.
Not what happened.
Imagine him just really trying, right?
Took him 17 days.
Butter knife, yeah.
Butter knife.
So while they're out dumping parts in the alligator swamp, literally as they're out doing their thing, Charlene, back in the Foot Locker, fucking like a baller, amazingly gets the idea to fucking just bust out.
Good for her.
Partly because she hears the phone ringing and no one's answering it. So she's like, they're not here right now.
She knows they're not there. Yeah.
This is my time. So she bangs as hard as she can on the lid and miraculously it fucking pops off.
Nice.
So she's fucking out of there. She's naked. So she grabs her clothes, puts them on and just fucking hauls ass out the house.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
She finds a house nearby and calls the fucking cops. And cops come and find them like right after the body parts dumping. So this doesn't go as they wanted.
Okay.
Because of Charlene, obviously.
Good for her.
They find the neighbor's boat the men had just used, which is like covered in blood. And they're like, ooh.
Yeah.
So they go to the swamp where they find like a ton of floating body parts, which had just been haphazardly dumped. The alligators did not have time.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So they arrest Timothy at his apartment. Gary very briefly goes on the run. He stops at his ex-wife's house to make a confession video for reasons that are somewhat unclear.
Because he's a meth user from backwoods Missouri. That's why. Yeah. I'm just going to put that out there.
I'll talk about that more in a minute. But like for some reason that he really wanted to do that. But after doing this, he turns himself in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he didn't stop to confess and then continue running.
Right.
Okay.
So the two men go to trial for Jeffrey's murder and the imprisonment/assault of Charlene. Gary's lawyer tried to have the video confession he made, which he said, quote unquote, humanized Gary, admitted as evidence, but the judge denies this, so it's not admitted. I do kind of think he made the video maybe with this intent, because like right away he turns around and he's like, I have this really great video where I seem like a cool guy. Could you put that in the trial?
Oh, so you think it really was not strategic? It was smart. Okay.
Yeah, he was trying to be smart and trying to like look like a good guy, because in it he talks about his family, he apologizes to them, he's like trying to act remorseful, right?
Okay, got it.
So yeah.
Oh, pretty smart. All right.
Yeah, he tried, but the judge was like, no, I don't want your confession.
Yeah, no, you don't get that.
So a coworker of Gary's from the meat section of the grocery store testifies about him taking the butcher's knives home because he was just like watching the knives leave, right? Charlene's testimony is obviously really damning. She goes through her whole ordeal. That's sort of like boop, boop, open shut, like fucking this lady's up here on the stand, right?
Yeah, I feel like the coworker was kind of like superfluous. Like, okay, we already have like the captive woman who saw it all go down. Right.
I just wanted to add that detail because I thought it was like fun that this coworker was like, all right, just like,
have a good day, Gary.
Taking those knives somewhere, aren't you?
Yeah, where are you going, Gary?
All right. Then a bunch of colorful facts about Gary and a bunch of like witnesses about him as a person come as well to the trial. They're all wild. To start with, of course, the people talk about on his side about how he was abused as a child, just kind of like, evoke sympathy for him, but is like kind of falls short given all that what else we know about Gary,
all
right?
The dismembering,
and the raping and all that.
Yeah, all that.
Right. Lots of people are abused and like don't do that.
Yeah.
So one coworker said he would often talk about sexual fantasies in which he imprisoned women. So like casual day at the butcher. For that coworker. Another neighbor said that after his family left the house, his wife and two daughters, the residence became something of kind of like a nuisance in the neighborhood, kind of like a flop house with tons of noises and suspicious people. So Gary's obviously getting up to like some wild shit.
Mm-hmm.
A former tenant of Gary's, which like I hope they didn't have to rent a room in this house, but a former tenant of Gary's also said that one time He tried to get teens in the neighborhood to kill Black people.
What? So now we're going to sprinkle in some fucking racism here? This guy's the worst.
He seems really cool. Yeah. Just doing massive drug operations, talking about sexually assaulting women, and like ignoring his family, doing hate crimes, like casual.
Very casual. This guy is like, wow, what a fucking super turd.
Yes. So unsurprisingly, Gary Simmons was found guilty on absolutely everything. He got life sentences for kidnapping and rape, and for capital murder, he got the death penalty because we were in Missouri, right?
I forgot about that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Very much a place where you can get that.
Very much.
Timothy Milano got life without parole, and the not giving him capital murder, I think, was probably because both because even though he shot Jeffrey, he didn't do the raping or the dismembering. So I think that kind of like,
because that could have been like a heat of the moment kind of thing, which could have worked in his favor.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So that he does come off, even though he did the murder, he comes off 10% better.
Right.
They also had a lot of testimony at trial about his difficult childhood, in which he and his sister were abandoned by their mother, who was suffering with heroin addiction. So they did like a lot of laying it on thick about like what a hard life he had.
Right.
So I found one legal document like pertaining to all of Gary Simmons's various appeals online, and I'll just very quickly summarize it because a lot of his things are boring. But basically, he did tons of appeals, and they included claims like him not being allowed to include his video confession, which he thought was unfair because he showed remorse in it. He had ineffective assistance of counsel. He tried to do that one. He tried to say it wasn't fair that his ex-wife testified because she doesn't like him.
Maybe she doesn't like him because he's fucking horrible.
Yeah, I'm sure he was a great fucking husband and father as well, right? This guy.
Yeah.
He also complained, amongst many other complaints, he complained that his sentence was disproportionate to Timothy because Timothy actually shot Jeffrey. And I'm like, my man, you fucking kind of sang that song when you dismembered this guy, right?
Yeah, that's that's not too bad, guy. The Foot Locker for me. It's the Foot Locker.
It's that kind of makes it worse.
Yeah.
At age 49, Gary Simmons was executed by lethal injection in June 2012.
Oh wow! So in June
2012
did it. They did the thing.
Although this was in the 90s, so it did take them like 30 years. Or so. It's not super fast. You might be wondering, what a sad story, Diva. Where's the fun detail? Well, here we are.
I was like, this wasn't fun.
No, we've arrived at the fun detail. So a lot, I would say like 60% of the coverage you'll see on this case revolves around Gary Simmons' last meal. Which he put in the order for before getting executed in 2012. And let me say, it is, fuck this guy. However, this last meal is very much worth talking about and analyzing.
You fucking love these. This is like your thing.
I do.
Why don't we do a Patreon of these?
We really should, please, because I've actually been watching a lot of videos where people like taste test and review different like last meals of famous criminals. And it's like really fascinating.
That's pretty funny.
Some of them look like really good and some of them are really stupid. So
I'm down to give that a shot. All right. Tell me about it though.
Okay. It's a long list. So, all right.
I'm here.
I'm shocked this was allowed, but here's the order. Quote, 1 Pizza Hut medium super supreme deep dish pizza, double portion. I'm not sure if that means double of everything on the pizza or 2 of them pizzas.
Yeah, it sounds like 2 pizzas, but I don't know. I think they would just say 2, right?
I think it means extra, like everything. That's what I think. Extra everything. And on this, he wanted mushrooms, onions, jalapeno peppers, and pepperoni.
Okay.
Then a pizza with 3 cheese, olives, bell pepper, tomato, garlic, and Italian sausage. He wanted 10 packs of Parmesan cheese, 10 packs of ranch dressing, 1 family size bag of nacho cheese Doritos, 8 ounces of jalapeno nacho cheese, like liquid cheese.
Yeah.
Then 4 ounces of sliced jalapenos.
Wow.
Then he wanted 2 large strawberry shakes, 2 20-ounce cherry Cokes, 1 supersized McDonald's fries with extra ketchup and mayonnaise, and 2 pints of strawberry ice cream.
Guy likes strawberry. That's his thing.
Yeah.
That's what I got from that, is that he's really into strawberry.
I believe there are like 2 or 3 pizzas in there. I may not have gotten through all of them.
I think there's at least 2.
Yeah. But they're massive.
They are.
And double portions. So people calculated that this meal came in at just under 29,000 calories.
There's no way he ate all that. There's no way.
He reportedly ate about half of the meal.
Okay, so he ate one portion of everything. Why did you go double?
I don't know. But this is my last point, because this guy's a fucking monster. He tried absolutely some of absolutely everything except McDonald's fries. To which I say, what the fuck?
He didn't eat. Dude, McDonald's fries are fucking good. Like,
that is
his last, all the things.
In his last monstrous act on this earth, he let those fries go to waste.
Dude. And he didn't even get 2. He just got 1. It wouldn't have even been hard to eat some.
No. Eat 1 fry, dude. He didn't touch him.
It's
fucked up.
That's weird.
It's fucked up. And I mean, honestly, other than like the sodas and shit, like this is a pretty good meal. Like I would eat this. I would eat this right now. But
I mean, I'd drink a soda. A cherry Coke is where it's at. Like,
strawberry shake I would drink.
This guy knows how to junk food. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Guy's a piece of shit. That's the one thing he got right in his life, is being really good at eating junk food, which is like not anything to be like proud of.
No.
But it is like fair to mention that, like,
I want to know if he wanted to put the nacho cheese on the pizza. Like, I would like to ask some follow-up questions about how this was eaten.
Well, because he has the jalapenos. I feel like the nacho cheese and the jalapenos somehow went together. Maybe he ate them on the Doritos.
Oh, yeah. And he made like a side nacho. That's a good point.
Nachos with Doritos is fucking legit too.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's a very good meal.
Yeah.
A very good meal. I'm surprised they let him get away with so much. But it's also not very expensive food per se.
Yeah. Yeah. And I bet he felt fucking terrible. I feel like sometimes these guys, this is a terrible thing to say, but I think about this and it actually makes me a little sick to my stomach when I think about people like being put to death, because I fucking hate it and I don't really think it should ever fucking happen. But sometimes I'm like, they must feel so fucking sick to their stomach from all the food that they ate that, like, I don't know, maybe they're doing that so they're like less scared. They're more like, oh, like I feel like terrible. Like I just want to go to sleep, and then like they just die. I don't know. Is that a stretch? Maybe that's crazy. But like sometimes I think about that and I'm like, they must actually feel a moment of relief when they're like falling asleep because they don't feel like they're going to puke anymore. I don't know.
I mean, I've thought about it a lot. I would have like tacos or like something. I mean, also, I think they should give them alcohol. Like, I don't think it's right that they deny them that.
Yeah, it's not like they're asking for like illegal drugs. Like,
for God's sakes, give them a beer with all the, I mean,
yeah, we don't seriously get them wasted, but like,
exactly.
I mean, it's not like they don't get that shit in prison anyway.
Exactly. Anyway, I just wanted to list out that meal because it's really something.
That is something, dude. That is quite something.
And I can't believe he didn't eat the fries.
That's, fuck this guy. That just like solidifies that this guy's a fucking turd.
Horrible. Yeah, it was like last week or not that long ago. I also had someone who didn't touch their fries. That was very concerning.
Wait,
it's a running theme. Remember
their last meal?
No, well, kind of. Remember the lady who killed her husband, but she like dumped off these really good fries, and that was
and she let
smoking
them get cold. Yeah, fries will get you.
Don't leave your fries. They're not good reheated. They do not reheat.
Fries don't reheat. It's true.
No,
I've tried to reheat McDonald's fries. It was fucking horrible. Worst mistake of my life. Okay. Wow. All right. Well, we're going to take this down and we're going to talk about a really fucked up case. This is the one that was requested by our listener. And I'm not going to say anything about this person because they didn't give me much in the email, but they gave me enough to kind of infer some things from what I read. And I don't want to call them out, but here we are.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the murder of Nicole Angstadt. Now, this takes place in Lower Township, which is in Cape May County, New Jersey, and specifically in the very small town of Irma, E-R-M-A. Okay. This is in 2015. Nicole Ann Angstadt was born in New Jersey in the year 2000. She had an older sister, 2 brothers, and also a twin sister with whom she was very close, from what I understand.
Okay.
And like they're identical. Now, this area, and Irma in particular, is very much in the middle of the road regarding like general crime. So it's not the safest, but it's definitely not like super seedy. It's at least where violent crime is concerned. There's definitely a decent amount of crime, though. It's definitely not a crime-free zone. And there's a little bit more property crime, which I believe is tied to the heroin epidemic in this area.
Okay.
It is like a straight up epidemic in Irma and the surrounding areas. This began to really pop off in 2014, so just before this happened. And this actually led to the county implementing a drug counselor within their court system because they were seeing so many cases of like heroin addiction and drug possession. And so they were trying to kind of, so it's really fucked up. So it's a big deal. It has a lot of reoffenders. A lot of the people who reoffend do so within 30 days of leaving their treatment program. So they'll physically kick the habit, but then they fall back into it because it's so easy to do so in this area. Like you're just surrounded by it. Now, I mentioned this because even though I wasn't able to find a ton of information regarding Nicole's drug use specifically, there were rumors kind of saying that she and her friends were into various drugs and that she hung out with like a pretty wild crowd.
Okay.
That being said, I do believe that she came from a loving family, just one that did not have a lot of money or resources. And I believe she was rebelling at the time this story takes place. And for instance, because I already said that she ends up murdered, they did like a GoFundMe for her funeral because her family could not afford to pay for one.
That's really tough.
And it's very, very tough. And I think that a lot of the time, the rumors about these people swirl and these kind of cases get overlooked because of like the socioeconomic position of these people and because we devalue poor people. And so I think it's really important to kind of talk about that.
Yeah.
It also made me really sad that they only raised like over half their goal for the funeral. So I don't even know what they were able to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really fucked up. So anyway, I do know that she was homeschooled, and I had read that even though she had turned 15, she was in 7th grade. So I don't know what's up with that because normally 7th grade is like 12 and 13.
Right. But probably held back a few times. Yeah.
Possibly. So I don't really know. I don't know. That's just what I read, and I read it in more than one place. So I was like, oh, it's not a mistake. I don't know what the deal is.
Gotcha.
So anyway, around the end of 2015, Nicole had started hanging out with a man named Charles Mosley or Mosley, I don't know, who was at that time 32 years old. And again, she's 15. And this motherfucker had spent nearly half his life behind bars for various crimes, most of which were violent and included like armed robbery, burglary, regular robbery, all sorts of shit.
Okay. So not the person you necessarily want your teen to like chill with.
No, I mean, not only is he more than twice her age, but he's also like a shitbag. So the two had started quote unquote dating, if you can even really call it that. Yeah. And Charles had already actually been arrested for having sex with Nicole. So he was already in trouble for like statutory rape.
Oh my God.
But the two continued to see each other while he awaited trial. So clearly, like, he doesn't give a fuck. Like, this guy is not afraid of going to prison. He's not afraid of like, breaking the law. He doesn't really give a shit. Yeah. Now, I don't know what it is about him that makes him like cool with that, but it's nothing good. So her family did seem to have some idea of what was going on, but not like a whole lot. I'm sure they felt that they couldn't do much about her choices at this point. According to her older sister, Heather Bradley, Nicole had only been seeing Charles for a couple of months by the end of 2015. So this was pretty new. And again, I think that there were issues in the family, so they just didn't really know how to handle her rebellion,
Mm-hmm.
So on November 30th, 2015, her family calls police to report Nicole missing after she failed to come home on the night of the 29th. And I don't know if she had a cell phone. I didn't see anything about a cell phone. I think maybe she didn't have money for one. But I do believe that her family had called around to her friends, asked around. Nobody had seen her. So they started to get scared.
Yeah.
When she was reported missing, the police didn't really give a shit, to be honest. Nicole had run away in the past, and the police were like, she's a runaway, fuck off. We don't care. You're poor. We don't give a shit about you.
Of course. Yeah. Classic.
Yeah. So they did do like a cursory check for her around town, but they were like, she'll probably come home on her own. And in fact, when they released the bulletin that was, kind of announcing they were looking for her, they listed her as a runaway, just straight up, like.
Just not even like thinking otherwise.
Not missing person, just like runaway.
Okay.
So really not cool. And the family was like, everything was fine. There was no reason she would have run away at this time. But they were like, well, she's run away in the past. She has like a record of bad behavior. We know she hangs out with like a bad crowd. So instead of being like, she's 15 and hanging out with like adult criminals, we should absolutely be looking for her extra hard. They were like, she's 15 and hanging out with adult criminals. She's probably just like somewhere doing drugs.
We value her less as a person. Yeah.
We value her less because she's poor and because she is running with a bad crowd.
Sure.
So finally, after a few days, the family called back and said they thought that she might have last been seen at a nearby abandoned house that had become kind of like a drug den for the local teens. And this later became a point of contention because police like blamed the family for not giving them that information to begin with. But it's like, first of all, the family probably told you as soon as they found out. And second, why the fuck aren't you doing this work? Like, why aren't the cops finding this out? You know what I mean? Like, why does the family have to call them back and like feed them leads?
No.
In any case, so police went by the home, which they found to be locked up. And they were like, well, if she was here, she's no longer here. The doors are locked. But they did like decide to kind of further investigate a little bit because the family was like, no, you need to find our 15-year-old. And they found that a real estate company had just come and locked up the house because they were like sick of people using it because they were trying to sell the house and people were like feeding in it and pissing in it and sleeping in it and doing drugs in it. Yeah. So the real estate company let the police in. They checked the house again. They didn't find anything. But at this point, they were looking at other information and evidence, including talking to locals, because Nicole's family had said, you know, she was last seen there with Charles Mosley. Mm-hmm. Police obviously knew who he was. They'd already recently arrested him for her statutory rape. So it's like, okay, this guy's a fucking criminal. He just got out of prison like in September. He got out and they started dating like right away.
Okay.
So bad fucking news. So they asked him, they talked to him about it, and, you know, he just played dumb. So police also looked into his friend Derek Powers, who was 23, who also had a bit of a record for robbery and other violent crimes, and had apparently also been seen with Nicole on the last day she was seen, November 29th.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what Derek, you know, told people around town, but even though Charles and Derek didn't speak to the police, they did speak to other people kind of in their scene, including Derek's brother. And I don't know exactly what was said, but Derek's brother told the police basically like, my brother is tied to this girl's death. She's in that house. So police went back to this house, searched it again, found a crawl space that was hidden.
Crawl spaces, red flag.
And inside on December 14th, 2015, 2 weeks after she'd gone missing, they found the dismembered body of Nicole Angstadt in that crawl space. Yeah. So these two men had been held on suspicion of her murder. They were not officially charged until February because even though there was like, you know, talk around town that they were involved, police didn't really have any evidence proving that they were the ones in that house. Okay. However, they did find some DNA. They found a footprint near the crawl space that matched one of Charles's shoes in the size that he wears. They found hair evidence that matched the men. So at that point, they were both arrested officially and charged with murder, robbery, burglary, endangering a minor, and a few other charges. Both pled not guilty, and both were held in prison awaiting trial for nearly 2 years while police were attempting to collect more evidence. Finally, Charles admitted to police to murdering Nicole.
Wow.
And he told them what he did, which is really fucking horrible. He said that he strangled Nicole to death after having sex with her in the house. And once she was dead, he dismembered her body and hid it in the crawl space. Whether or not he had help from Derek in murdering her is unclear. He says he didn't. Okay. So he says he did it alone. He says he took her into another room and did it. But Derek was definitely present while she was dismembered and hidden because he knew where her body was.
And the footprint, right? Too.
The footprint. Yeah. As for why Charles did it, he said he flew into a jealous rage because he thought that Nicole was interested in Derek and not him. So he fucking choked her to death in response.
Okay, this seems like a very random motive. Like, all right.
There's just something deeply fucked up about this person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he choked to death a 15-year-old little girl with whom he had no business of being around in the first place after basically having sex with her.
Statutory raping
raping her.
Yeah.
So after Charles admitted to the murder, Derek, who had been held on the murder charges as well, was formally charged for other things related to the murder, but not the murder. So the murder charge for Derek was dropped because they were like, you obviously didn't do this. And I don't think that he actually dismembered her body either. I think he was just kind of there and like witnessed what was happening, didn't stop it, didn't help.
Kind of aiding and abetting kind of vibes.
A little bit. He was ultimately given 10 years for his crimes. And thanks to a sentencing law in New Jersey, he has to serve at least 85% of his sentence before he can be considered for released. As for the child rapist and all-around piece of shit, Charles, he was given 30 years because I think it ended up being second-degree murder, which sounds accurate. It doesn't sound like he,
Yeah.
And thanks to that same law, he won't be eligible for another, for like 25 and a half years.
Okay.
Yeah. And also one of the robbery murders was they robbed a group of like teenagers right before going to that house with Nicole and murdering Nicole. They robbed some teenagers at gunpoint. So like these guys are just the fucking worst. Yeah.
It's a bit of a spree, if you will.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So during his sentencing, Nicole's family was able to speak, and her grandmother, who could barely walk and was on oxygen — that's where the word oxygen came from — stood up and shouted at Charles to, quote, burn in hell.
I like it. I like that energy.
I do like that energy, too. Her sister, Heather, said the following, and she was yelling as well. There's not a reason, not an excuse in the world that a human being should do that to another human being, let alone a 15-year-old child. She was a baby. You scarred everyone here today. I can't count to you now how many times I've sat up all night long crying about my sister that I will never see again. So while you have all the luxuries of sitting there in jail, which one day you're going to hit the streets again, my little sister is never coming back. Never. She'll never be here again.
Wow. Very, very succinct. Nailed it.
Really sad. It makes me really sad.
Yeah.
It's really fucked up. It's really fucked up.
Really.
Really. So that's it. I mean, it's really interesting that these guys got such relatively light sentences considering that they murdered a child, or at least one of them raped and murdered a child. I don't know what to say about that. It feels like when you're this much of a repeat violent offender, like I know we always talk about, like, I feel like no matter how people are sentenced, we're never happy. Like, just, like, it's not what I would do. But like in this instance, it's like this guy has so many instances of violent, like violent crime, and it's like it finally hit like its peak in this murder of a 15-year-old child, and yet he's gonna get out in his mid-50s.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in principle, I don't hate the sentence, but it's like the inconsistency that bothers me. Like I've been saying, like the randomness of how different laws are applied, and how like you can get forever for drugs, and then murder and rape, people are like, meh.
30 years, 85%. I mean,
like, I don't know what the right numbers are, but I know that certain things should be more than other things.
Yeah, I feel like 30 years for this is not terrible.
Right.
I feel like 40 years would maybe be a little better. I'd like this man to be pretty old when he gets out of prison, just as a safety measure, because clearly the fact that he was 32 at the time he did this and had spent half of his life in prison, this guy's not afraid of living in prison. Like, and he clearly does, like, has impulse control issues and, you know, is just a bad human. So I don't know. It fucking freaks me out.
Sucks.
Anyway, that's it. That's my story.
There we go. 2 uplifting stories about dismemberment today.
Yeah. I hope I did that one justice. Again, because she was a poor person from a not like super amazing area, there wasn't that much on it. It took some real digging, but hopefully I got
just shows you what kinds of victims get more attention is obviously something we've talked about too.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is she was white, so she had that kind of going for her, but
she was poor.
She was poor, you know, and yeah, so pretty fucked up. But there you go. There's the first 2. Lucky us.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll tease you to listen to the second part, because my second one is full of like the most dismemberment possible.
Dude, I was actually going to say, like, we get more listens on the first episode. It's starting to catch up. You guys listen to the second episode. What I'm doing is fucking wild. I don't think I hope we're not doing the same one, because I forgot to highlight it.
Oh no.
Mine sounds like yours. Anyway, we're doing some fucking awesome, crazy over the top shit. And I think everybody should tune in, especially if you're a quote unquote fan of Dismemberments, which I know that's not like actually the way we should put it. Right. Oh no, you're doing one nickname dude and I'm doing the other nickname dude. So those will be good.
Okay.
In any case. All right. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for listening to the first half. We kept it a little short and sweet tonight, but I think tomorrow or the next episode is going to be kind of crazy, a little longer. So if you like those long marathon podcasts, check into the next one. And I guess until then,
hey,
off our. Stay off and bye.